State Fire. Oh, okay. You wouldn't believe how many these of the other copies that I have. State Fire label.
I think he doesn't have a co-pilot. Well, he got it.
I thought he was gonna do it.
Yeah.
The one
I did really want to get the
last project that was in.
Well, that's good.
I can't hear you. I get the first comes.
I think he's got the gist.
What were you saying?
No,
There you go.
the last part of the personnel policy.
He started the recording. Started not recording.
Well, that's the ordinance. That's the statute. That's our fair statute.
Hey, I don't know about you, but my neck doesn't turn that far.
That's the statute. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 5 more minutes. All the owls are.
So you just told us that they recording and started, so.
Yeah.
Handy man. When my A1C goes up, I'm working on a review.
Yeah.
What was that? I know you'll score, you won't help.
Yes. Yes.
Susie. Oh, the problem.
Was. Parent or for this parent, which we know we will be support, we could especially. It's down to the world, not.
What did you say?
Yeah, they do.
Stand right here. You gotta watch it though.
That's fine.
Me too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the same, so.
So I'm going to see it. And it's where it is. I just got up.
Okay, I'm gonna call the Lebanon City Council Committees meeting for October 7th, 2024 to order. And first item is a roll call. Stevenson. Here. Whitty. Here. Branch. Here. Washington. Here. Trinka. Here. Davis. Here. Bennett. Yes. Carroll here. Okay. Time for audience participation. If you're speaking, please come up to the rail. So we can pick you up on the aisle, and you're limited to 5 minutes. And the members of the council may not respond during your presentation. That's because your 5 minutes is your 5 minutes. So give me a second here to get my stopwatch. Okay. Yes, what's your name?
My name is Nellie Beckwith, and I'm here because you came out to my house to inspect the driveway. You did the inspection. You told me that it goes to the mayor, Cody, and Luann. And they will be the decision maker. So I haven't heard anything from the mayor, which signed off on all of this confusion to get my street done to begin with. Luann, the one that said that I would not get my driveway repaired, I would get a steel plate. I don't know how the clerk make that kind of decision. I thought a clerk filed papers and that's all I thought they did, know how to do file paper. I didn't know they were decision makers. And the mayor, which is the decision maker, told me that she was sorry that it happened to me, but not too glad that it didn't happen to many people. So everyone is aware that it happened to my driveway. Who's gonna repair it and when? I'm tired of saying the same thing over to you all. You act like y'all stuck on some type of foolishness. I don't know what it is, but the next time I'm gonna have me a lawyer that will sue the mayor, Cody, and Luann. And if any one of you all wanna join board, y'all can have your name thrown in the pocket too. Cause I don't see how Mr. Whitty can come and say, hey, I'm so sorry, but I don't know why they haven't taken care of your yard. You said that just afternoon, like I said.
I gotta say, I didn't come to your house.
No, if you had been to my house, I would have stated that. And Mr. Stevenson, early in this confusion, he said he wished that you all would take care of the problem. He don't know why. Now, I don't know why either. Cause all you got to do is call whatever that company is over there, Chris. Call Chris. Your subcontractor's messed up. Chris has insurance. You all have insurance. What's the problem, Mayor? What is the problem? If you're the person that signed off on all of this confusion, and then the other thing, I was told that the surveyors, the contractors, and an alderman will come to my house. Why did Dr. George come out there by himself? He's not a surveyor. And he's not a contractor. I just want to know, why are you all constantly playing these Mickey Mouse games? And if someone can't answer me, tell me when you're gonna take care of my problem. And if you can't answer that, talk to my lawyer.
Yeah,
But I want to answer tonight.
anybody else?
We're on the agenda, right? So we don't need
No,
to talk now.
This is the time audience.
I'm Greg Peterson of Lebanon Historical Society, and I gave you all a letter, and the mayor and all the persons. The Lebanon Historical Society would like to submit some general comments regarding the Brick Street plan with regard to historic appropriateness. While the city ordinances define the historic shopping center as a stretch between Fritz and Monroe along St. Louis Street, there's also the larger Lebanon Historic District is listed in the National Register of Historic Places. We've attached a map of the latter for your convenience. Note it is a much larger area than is generally known within Lebanon as an historic district. This nomenclature confusion is an area of concern, though not directly related to the Brick Street plan. While formal review of the plan by the State Historic Preservation Office at SHPO is not required until a triggering action is actually proposed in accordance with the named statute here, they should be involved as early in the planning process as may be practicable. Not only does this streamline compliance, but also SHPO staff can suggest ways to meet project goals in a historically sensitive manner and can help communities turn their historic buildings into an economic asset. And their websites there. Triggering actions include, for example, obtaining a grant or permit from a federal or state source, or when properties they own may be effective. The SHPO can also help identify relative grants. The Lebanon Historical Society suggests Lebanon involve the SHPO in the creation of the detailed streetscape master plan and phase 1 evaluation of the roundabout suggested for city investment on page 3 of the plan. This involvement should start early in the process, not just as in historic review is listed within the recommendation on page 2. Recommendation 2 on page 28. They can also assist with ways to improve ADA accessibility without negatively impacting NHRP eligibility. The high curb near the southeast corner of Madison and St. Louis is because that was there as a trolley stop. It eased entry and exit from the trolley and is thus a feature of Lebanon's history. Specific to city ordinances, the suggested stringing of lights across St. Louis Street is an example of strictly prohibited signs in the statutes named, except if erected for an observed holidays. The SHPO can also suggest ways to maintain compliance with, and the statutes there, by ensuring planned actions do not in any way jeopardize the area from meeting the criteria for placement on the NRHP. Creating a working relationship with the SHPO would be beneficial to all as they administer a program of tax incentives regarding rehabilitation of historic buildings and can better enable the Plan Commission, for example, to inform citizens of SHPO resources as well as tax abatements and incentives during appropriateness reviews. As the plan says, the historic character of Lebanon acts as an economic engine. And the SHPO consultation can help maintain such in a cost-effective manner, And that's what I got, and we're here to help, and I'm glad there's a lot of people from the Historical Society here. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Are you continuing?
No, this
She's
is
got
my,
all five.
my own comments on Sharon Guile, where my original understanding had been that we were on the agenda, so my original intent was to serve as backup for Greg if he had questions. So I'm kind of freelancing here in terms of not a written statement per se, but following on, don't know if you're aware that Emerald Mound is included within has been presented within the Senate and the House, U.S. Senate and U.S. House several times to become, along with Cahokia Mound, part of the national park. Emerald Mound is on an ancient trail from Vincennes, Indiana to Cahokia Mound. When Lebanon is on a stagecoach route, which generally followed that old Native American trail and is the Vincennes St. Louis Trail that turned into the Vincennes St. Louis Road that was then turned into a national highway, which at the time they think came down this road and is now, US 50 on there. Heartland's Conservancy is the local lead. Both of the senators are on it, and Bost actually introduced the bill in both 19 and 21. So our folks are on board there. Discover Downstate Illinois in their Tourism Times has a story in this version about Discover the Kaskaskia Cahokia Trail, which Cahokia and down, where Kaskaskia is. We could do similar with the Vincennes St. Louis Trail. And whereas the current issue just mentions the Fall Festival and Witches Night Out, we could, make a lot more of a story and such in terms of the historic history of this town and take advantage of that. And with SHPO assistance, where, one of right there in full words on their website is that they will help you turn your historic buildings into economic assets. You just need to call them up and work with them. Let's see, you can request assistance from the SHPO to determine the specific characteristics of buildings that are significant, which would be of great assistance to the plan committee when they are reviewing plans and such that people submit. And generally speaking, from my experience, I was a cultural resource manager for the Air Force. Things that the SHPO thinks are important are things like doors and windows. In the various meetings I've been to here, I rarely hear about much other than signs. So you could work with the SHPO to determine which things are significant and thus should not be changed and such on the various parts of town, recognizing that the historic district is much larger than just the historic shopping district. That map that you have there, yes, it does extend slightly out of town. However, that is the fifth of the 5 recognized significant areas, one of which is the shopping district, but the part that goes out of town is the archaeologically significant area, which pretty much already no longer exists. So you can also, we all know the story of the guy who, when putting in the shopping mall down there, basically just plowed through the mound that was where his back driveway is. That's the Pfeiffer Mound that is specifically listed within the nomination documents. Here is the actual nomination form for putting it on the National Register. The map included in the form is a little bit more difficult to read. The one that's attached to the map was actually drawn by Charlie, thank you, based on the map that is in the official 1978 listing document.
30 seconds.
So in conclusion, and we've got both a state highway and a US highway that are involved in the Brick Street plan. Thus, the chances of a triggering event occurring, I'd say, are pretty much 100%. Where SHPO involvement will be legally required, suggests that you get them on board in the beginning, which is to your benefit.
Thank you, Sharon. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, I think I know most of you. I'm Jessica Lamar. I believe Plan Commission is on the agenda tonight to talk to you guys about a few things pertaining to an ordinance, but I wanted you guys to have the depth of what I presented them on Thursday that kind of brought this to a forefront. So I'm going to go through quickly what I presented to them. Following my divorce in 2021, due to huge financial hits, I had to sell the house and relocate my 2 children. In April in 2022, I went under contract on a property located at 401 West Chute Street, which was a single parcel with 2 homes sitting on it that I knew had both been occupied for years when the late Jim Reese owned them. When I went in to get occupancy, Leanne informed me that I could not rent the second dwelling, and I was told that I would need to sign a paper understanding that I couldn't do so, or I could not get occupancy for myself and my kids. So to avoid the homelessness with everything I had going on, I completed that. I had my occupancy inspection with Terry Weil, and he passed that 315 South Monroe, which is what I'll refer to as the cottage. But there was a couple things that failed on the main home that was located at 401 West Chutes. Since they were one occupancy, I was told by Luann that I would not be issued occupancy until both homes were passing. After inviting Sherry down to the property and walking her around, we agreed that I could have a temporary occupancy allowing me to live in the cottage, but that all the repairs would need to be made before I could relocate into the main house because I had planned to do a big renovation anyways. After settling in, I came up to Plan Commission and then Council and asked that I could at least run the second home and the property as a short-term rental once I had moved out. On September 26th, that special use permit was granted. There was a statement of facts that was put out to Plan Commission. I think that we solved that issue there. I did find out though I would have to get inspections then per Luann, and the property was still considered one occupancy, so I could not do anything with the property until both dwellings could pass the single occupancy inspection. After completing the main house, I went to update the insurance for the property and get affairs in order to move forward with the plan I initiated in 2022. And through that, I discovered that because the city recognized this property as one occupancy, if there was a disaster to the cottage, that would lead to a total loss. I would not be able to build that home back. I would be out my investment of that second home that sits on the property. All this information was confirmed by City Hall. I have copies, if you'd like to see them, of bank statements illustrating that I have paid 2 water and sewer bills on the property since I purchased it. I had to put 2 water deposits down. I have 2 Ameren bills. The post office and 911 both recognize the homes as 2 separate addresses of 315 South Monroe and 401 West Chutes. When the city forwarded all of our personal information to the new trash service, I had 2 trash cans and 2 recycling bins delivered to the property. Also, if you look at the St. Clair County property record card, for the parcel, one side shows that there's a single family dwelling assessed at $116,955, built in 1942. And then it also shows on that same parcel, a single family dwelling assessed at $100,476, built in 1949, just 7 years later. The property is 2 separate homes according to everyone, even the city of Lebanon, except for when it comes to my occupancy. When I paid and requested this to be placed on the agenda for Plan Commission, I was originally asking to rezone or figure out a way for this to work, and then a letter was brought to my attention. On September 28, 2015, it says, "Dear Mr. Reese, the property located at 315 South Monroe is the same lot as 401 West Chutes, was grandfathered in when zoning ordinance 1151 was passed. You surrendered the grandfather protection by proposing to alter the small house. However, on September 24, 2015, the Lebanon Zoning Board of Appeals heard and granted a request to allow a second residence at 315 South Monroe Street on the same parcel and to build the addition of 136 square feet, which is when he added on the bedroom to that second house. This memorandum will be attached to your building permit as a permanent document. Sincerely, Mayor Rich Wilkin," at that time. So after I have missed out on collecting thousands of dollars in rent money, I have spent thousands of dollars on duplicate utilities. I spent another $110 to get before Plan Commission to find out that it was an ordinance issue and not an issue of zoning. I've been extremely frustrated, but basically there's 2 issues that came about this. One, I want to make sure that there's something more permanent, that if I have something happen to my property, my investment is protected. Heaven forbid if I'm not here and my kids inherit it, that down the road, they're not being told they can't rebuild the home that sits on that property. It does not conform to our ordinances the way they sit now. Also, when I was digging through all this, the city tried to tell me that I would not be able to rebuild the house no matter what, because it's not 1,000 square feet. That brought me to a whole nother issue, at which I think Plan Commission is going to speak of how many homes we have in the city of Lebanon that are not 1,000 square feet. The way the ordinance reads right now, if they have a fire or any kind of structural damage that would cause a total loss, they would have to rebuild their house at 1,000 square feet. So if they have an 800 square foot home, they would not be able to.
Thank you, Jessica. Sorry, your time's up.
Jessica, thank you. My name is Jack Mitchell. I'm from the Planning Commission. This is formal. I am here accompanied with another individual, so there's only two of us here. So it's not a formal meeting. We need some help. We need some clarification on an ordinance on the minimum building requirement for a lot. When you survey the city of Lebanon and its heritage back from the 1800s, you'll find that there are various houses of varying age and varying sizes as well. So we're in a conundrum because if someone is trying to insure a property and it's less than the minimum required to build, we're putting our citizens at risk. We need help in clarifying the ordinance for the minimum building requirement. Grandfathering it is a great initiative from the government. However, it doesn't protect individuals when transfer of ownership happens. And then we get into writing exceptions to rules rather than just addressing the rule. So we do need help with that. And we do appreciate the support that we get from the council on our recommendations. So that's why I came. It's just to add credence to it. We have to survey the properties, how many are under 1,000 square feet. We have citizens paying insurance. They would expect to rebuild at or similar to what they have. In addition, modern building requirements and just design in general have changed. Bigger isn't always better as expense goes through the roof with building costs. So I would offer that as another point of leverage to change the ordinance, to amend it. Our recommendation is at or similar to the existing 1,000. But I will take what you recommend, go back to the committee with your recommendations and bring it up for you for a vote. So it's ordinance. We can't establish ordinances. We merely interpret them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for audience participation?
Right.
You were gonna say something.
My name's Kevin Wright, and I'm also a member of the Planning Commission, and in being at these meetings and listening to what Mrs. Lamar said and everything else, the root of the problem is that should something happen to the property that she owns now, she can't rebuild it based on city ordinance. So looking at it from that point of view, I think that the logical thing to do would be amend the ordinance that requires a building to be a home to be more than 1,000 square feet. So that you could, somebody who has property that is 697 square feet could rebuild under, if their property is damaged, they could redo that. I don't know how much effort that takes to amend an ordinance or what, but I think that would solve the problem, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Before I go on?
I have a question.
Sure.
On this. Jessica, have you gotten the 1 inspection versus 2 inspections squared away?
No.
So
So
she needs to also be able to have 2 inspections. Everything is treated as 2 properties. She needs 2 inspections. That doesn't make any sense why everything else is 2 and her inspections are only 1.
If you had apartments, we'd be inspecting each apartment by now.
Right,
That's the issue.
right.
And I made the time this weekend. I listened or watched the entire plan commission meeting so I could be educated on this. And so, before I go on, anybody else in the audience? Okay, I'm gonna go on, you normally have, alderperson participation here, but I'm gonna go on with a little bit, I'm gonna take some, advantage of my position as the convener. The ordinances do need to be amended. After listening to all that, going through and looking at the ordinances, plus I'm aware of a number of structures in the city that are currently being occupied that are probably just at or just below the minimum required for it. And so there are a number of structures that have that problem. It isn't just Jessica and her problem. This is a citywide problem. And I need to sit down with the attorney, our city attorney, point out the ordinances that have a problem and come up with language. And my recommendation to the council and to our attorney will be that we say, okay, as of the date we pass the amended ordinance, any structures in the city that are below size, the minimum size, can be rebuilt on that same foundation. Or the foundation to be repaired on that same footprint. That way, that should cover it, right, Jessica, with insurance?
Yes, that would help the insurance and all the people affected by the 1,000 square feet.
Right.
That, yeah, as long as the city doesn't get technical, that if the foundation's damaged, that they,
No,
Yeah.
that we can't
Yeah.
do that, because foundation, and if there's a fire, foundation could be damaged just by putting fire out.
Okay.
And, but we need to look at that, and that's what I'm suggesting we do. It can't be done tonight. I need to meet with the attorney and get probably somebody else to join me with the attorney to go through this. So there are two of us, to come up with what do we need to do. This is not Jessica's problem or the plan commission's problem. It's the city problem. And we have to look at it as a city issue. Any comments from anybody about my comments?
I agree. As building costs go up, it's gonna be harder and harder for people
Right.
to build it to that.
Plus, though, we have an ordinance on micro homes already.
Yeah.
We allow micro homes, and they're below what our normal standard would be too. So we can adapt that one even for this purpose. But our ordinance deals with them being placed on a full-size lot. We allowed for smaller lots for those homes, and that's where that ordinance came in. But we can do something. We just have to get down and come up with the right language and then pass it. And to prevent people from coming in and saying, I'm gonna build a small home without following the mini home ordinances, so that their grandfather, they won't be called, we don't use the term grandfather. It will be that homes that were occupied as of the date of this ordinance, then that would be when it occurs. Go ahead, Jessica.
also, so the other thing to add to my property in particular is that it's got 2 single-family detached homes, and so that classification of zoning, the multifamily zoning is for duplexes and things like that. So from a zoning standpoint, it has nowhere to fall.
Right, I would be opposed to making that multi-family as well, because that leaves the potential for somebody to come in at some point, buy the property and put an apartment building there. And we don't necessarily need an apartment building at that particular location.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is that we find a way to write into the ordinance that a parcel in the city limits that has 2 single-family dwellings can remain 2 single-family dwellings. And then we have to put into our inspection ordinance the fact that each dwelling gets inspected. We've played with that language several times when we were talking about apartments and inspections a few years ago. And it's hard when you're talking apartments and townhouses. We don't know, sometimes a house that's been divided into several apartments, is it a single family dwelling or is it now an apartment house? And coming up with that definition so that we can do that. Go ahead.
Jack Mitchell again. I would say that there is a sense of urgency on this. You have people insured that are in a position where the government won't let them rebuild. But the insurance company can pay, but you don't want an individual citizen in that
No.
status.
No, we don't. And there isn't a sense of urgency, and I'm hoping that we can get this resolved within the month. We have one more council, we have another council meeting this month.
Did I hear you correctly, Jessica, when you said that your insurance will not cover that home that's sitting on Monroe? If something happened to it right now as we speak, your insurance will not cover that home for you to give you anything if it
So-
got damaged.
Right now, my insurance doesn't have an issue with it because I have it insured as two separate homes
Mhm.
because they have two separate 911 addresses.
Gotcha.
But the problem is that even if the insurance would give me the money, the way the ordinance reads and the way the zoning is on the property, I wouldn't be able to rebuild. I wouldn't be able to do anything with it.
Okay.
And so the value of the property when I bought it as two homes, but I can't do anything with it. I also have, if you guys are interested at all, this is just the blocks around me. So the pink property is my house with the two on it. Every green property is under 1,000 square feet, just in those two blocks, according to the St. Clair County parcels.
Right,
So if you guys want to pass that, just so that you guys can get an idea of how many homes are affected,
Mhm.
that gives you an idea.
So my next question, because I know we just did this with somebody about 2 weeks ago, where they had that property, I guess a home is on it, and then they wanted to break it up into
divided,
individual
that was the Wilhelm
parcels.
property on Route 4. They
Uh-huh.
wanted to divide there, but that was like 3 acres, 4 acres.
I know, and
That
I'm
wasn't-
just throwing that out there because, like she said, some homes are some about 1,000 square feet, so my question is, and I can be wrong, I'm just asking, will breaking it up and giving that other property another parcel, that wouldn't help?
No,
Because it has a different address already.
So my parcel overall is too small that if I divide it into two, it still doesn't meet the stipulations of the zoning and everything. And then also, there is a sewer line that kind of runs that it would not be in the best interest of me or the city to divide the parcel,
Gotcha.
from what I understand.
right. And I would suggest taking the hour and a half or so and watching the video. It is posted on our site so that you can watch the video of that meeting, because there was a lot of discussion, because we don't want to rehash the entire hour here right now. We'll go through that.
So very briefly, seeing as how they are connected with each other, and while you're revising an ordinance, some of that area and some of those historic homes are also on the National Register. So that's where they should not be changed significantly in terms of also maintaining a historic character. So keep that in mind while you are revising ordinances to get it done completely while you're doing it.
Hey, thank you, Sherry.
I have a question. George, didn't I hear you say that the counselor would not address anything that would be brought up in here tonight?
No, during your presentation.
You're not addressing my situation, but you're addressing everything else.
No, I was talking about during your presentation. We would not interrupt you. So you had your full 5
Well,
minutes.
after the presentation with this young lady, which has a serious problem just like I
Now,
have,
I have a
you
question.
start to address it. So why haven't you addressed what you found in my driveway?
I have a question for you, because I was gonna ask this question of you. The solution the city has for your driveway is to put a plate across it like.
And I said I wasn't getting a steel plate because the whole, you messed up the drain and damaged my driveway. And I was told that the driveway will be repaired. And whatever that lady's name, Luann informed ADOT, that I would get a steel plate. How can she make that decision? And when you came up there, you couldn't get up in my driveway. Who in here has a driveway that they can't drive their car in? Nobody. That I drove my same automobile, not my same automobile, but I drove every automobile I ever had in that driveway for 35 plus years. I was young when I moved there and I was driving a Camaro, low. And it did not need a steel plate. Now you're gonna allow someone to come on my street, damage my property, and tell me you're gonna give me a steel plate? That sounds insane. For you to say that, and you can even drive your car up and down without damaging.
Thank you. You've had,
Now, you know, dismiss me, tell me what you all are planning to do. That's all since July the 11th. This is all that you all came up with, that you're gonna follow one person lead.
the recommendation from our street superintendent
Who
is the
is that?
placement of the plate.
That's Cody. Cody don't know if he's coming or going. And he's going most of the time.
Okay, thank you.
No, you gonna be number one, cause you came out there and gave me false hope with all your lies, and you
I did
even
not.
agreed that it was wrong. And
I,
now you're gonna sit in here and talk crazy.
I just stated that.
Talk
What
to
I
my
was,
lawyer.
what I was
I'm
gonna do was
excusing
bring
you.
this
Talk to my
information
lawyer.
back
You
to
gotta
the
be
mayor.
number one on the list.
Thank you. As to repeat, all I made no promises of anything. I said I would take this back to the mayor and a decision would be made. And, but the only decision that can be made at this point is that plate. The steel plate will
Where is,
allow you to bring
where is the surveyors? Where are the contractors that you
Ms.
all
Beckwith, you're out
informed me
of,
to
Mrs.
come
Beckwith,
out?
you're out,
Where are those
you're
people?
out of order right now. because
And you've been
we're
out of
moving
order.
on.
You
We're
out of
moving
order
on.
too. And what you gonna do about it? You the one messed up my driveway. You in this city. Cause you part of the problem. If you're not the solution, you're part of the problem. So what you gonna do about it? Tell me. And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do about it.
Ms. Beckwith,
No, Miss Beckwith ain't going nowhere.
how about I suggest
Miss
you
Beckwith ain't going nowhere.
leave the meeting, please?
I ain't going nowhere. Put me out of here.
Oh, chief. Okay. Okay, moving on. We're still, and we don't have it on the agenda, but this is normally the time when alder persons have any comments they want to make. They can do that. Anybody have anything? Go ahead, Linda.
I contacted, my brother and I contacted Cody. I went out to the cemetery and, I looked at my dad's and my mother's grave. And, the VA came out and put my dad's plate on it. But to me, it looked like they took up a whole new plot. Because my dad and my mom, they have a headstone together. But his military headstone is in front. And it looks like it's another plot. It's just that fault that
Probably need to contact the VA.
no, let me finish,
Okay.
George.
All right, go ahead.
Is so far in front of their original headstone that it looks like it's a separate plot. So my brother contacted them and told them he was not satisfied with it. Plus, it's big. It's not a small one. And they're supposed to be coming out to check it out. I don't know if there's ever been a situation like this before or not. But I'm not gonna try to hide nothing. I want everybody to know. So when they come, we are aware of why they are here and what they're trying to do. As far as I'm concerned, they need a smaller plate. My father was a chief master sergeant. He did 28 years for the Air Force. So he just needs a smaller one and it needs to be closer to their headstone. Cody said he was gonna look at it and get back to me. Of course, you know, he never gets back to me anymore. So I don't even, with the project on McAllister Street, I don't even know if they have time to even look at it. And then, Saturday, I came up here for the fall festival. And the side streets were blocked. I didn't know the side streets were gonna be blocked. In the petition. That where they asked, I thought it was just the Brook Street. But the side streets were blocked. Some of the city trucks were blocking like the first, the first block. And there was no, handicap. And I specifically asked in the meeting about handicap.
So do I, every time we have a street event.
That
designated.
SIP truck was parked right over there in the handicap. And that's where they said they were gonna send the handicap.
Thank you, that's good information to have, we'll have to make sure we, really, the next request will have to be. It will have to be questioned more, and, we'll have to have a way to, enforce it on that day.
But we need to find out why those side streets were,
The only reason we would block the side of the streets is to prevent cars from coming up to the intersection. But we didn't get permission for the side streets to be used
all
for
of
anything.
them.
No,
I mean, people couldn't even get, people that lived up over the store.
I can actually answer your question, sorry, I was in charge of Fall Festival. So the side streets there are always blocked up to the alleys, because people will drive up the side streets and into the events. So we always go like from here to where the alleys start, so people can still get through the alleys if they need to. But for safety, we have to block those, because every year we do have people try to drive through the event.
Well, they said a lot of people were complaining because the people that lived up over the businesses couldn't get to their homes. And a lot of businesses that were still open for business, I'm not talking about for the fall festival business, but for actual business. Their customers didn't know they were open because of the block.
Well, this isn't anything new, like they're blocked for every event on those sides.
Well, I
Like I
don't
said,
know.
they stop at
I don't know
the
if it was
alleys.
New customers or what?
Yeah, it's definitely a safety thing, and we did have handicap available. It's usually by request, because even on a good day, we don't have enough.
But that's
handicap
not what
spots.
we were told.
I wasn't the one that spoke to you guys about it, so I'm just letting you know that we do, like, cause you know, you're gonna have Witches Night Out and Victorian Holiday coming up. And they do the same thing for the sides. We have to go to the alley and we have to block them for safety.
Well, see, we were told that this area out here would be used for handicap. There was no way it could be used for
This
handicap.
parking lot here, other
Yeah.
events do use that for
Because-
handicap. We don't have enough space for or Fall Festival because we have more vendors all the way through.
When the vendors that were handicapped parked along there,
We had 4 parked here and then several down
What?
the other ones.
the vendors that were handicapped parked right there along from St. Louis to actually to the end of the parking lot, because the ambulance has to get out.
Well, what about, I asked about handicap for the people. And they said that they would be parking in the employee.
I think AJ
parking.
answered for us as just a guess. She's not part of the event or part of the planning, so that wasn't anticipated to use that.
So in
parking
other
lot.
words, it wasn't true.
She gave her best information that she had. So I'm happy with you now. Okay, there was handicapped available, it wasn't in that lot, we always block the side streets. We'll leave a note for the people that do it next year, that you were unhappy with it, and they'll change it next year.
No, I mean, we just need to know.
We'll let the people know for next year. I'm not doing it next year, so the people next year can let you know. Just try to answer.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say this, us as a council, excuse me, with Miss Beckwith. Now, she has been coming up here since July. And I heard you all say 3 people was making the decision. Now, from my understanding, when I got on this council, is that the council make a decision. And the first day this woman has come up here, I went there that night, couldn't hardly see because I couldn't find her address. So I took my time and I went back the next day. And I just want to say this, if anybody goes out there, you can see how deep that curve is with a naked eye.
Yes.
And it's deeper than any other curving in there. So with that being said, yes, other people have metal plates, but they had metal, and metal plates are outdated too, truth be told. Because if you go to any subdivision, they do not have metal plates, they have rubber in there.
Right.
So because some newer cars are low and some houses are on hills. And with that being said, this lady has told us she has been living in that home over 35 years. And she has never had a metal plate and has never had a problem driving up into her driveway. So with that being said, us as a council, I suggest every alderperson go out there and look for yourself. I drove up and down every street out there in that subdivision because every street just got redone and they look very, very nice. And if you pay attention, even my driveway, and I know you all know, certain driveways, it's just smoother to go up. And like I say, you will see this with a naked eye. It don't take a rocket science to figure it out. When you look at it, you're gonna see what she's talking about. You're gonna see why the car does what it does. And if I have been living in a home for that long, I wouldn't want that on my driveway either. And like I said, those are outdated. So truth be told, if those streets look nice, it makes the homes look nicer. So if anything, everybody out there don't need no metal thing no more. Because that metal thing, all kind of stuff go in between those things. What they really need is the cushion of the rubber ones, because that way they don't have to clean up under there. They don't have to move that thing and all that. Nobody wants to be hauling a long metal plate. So what I'm trying to say, us as a council need to go and check out her driveway. And with that being said, she's been living in that home over 35 years, never had a problem. That woman is getting up in age. She want to go to her mailbox too without tripping or falling. And you know, when snow and all that stuff come, even those metal plates are slippery. So just for FYI, for your information only, with the other people, we need to consider probably giving them some different things to put in there, because those things can be dangerous. And I just want to say that.
We have to, first of all, I agree with that. The metal plates bother me because they can be slick.
Yes,
in the winter.
very.
And there is new technology. It would run us about $1,000 for each driveway to put those in, which is about the same cost as those metal plates. But they do have a drain that goes down through the middle of it, so they does a lot of drainage. And I've seen them, I looked them up on purpose, just to make sure that they were possible. But I agree, but it has to be budgeted. We have to budget for it and determine what it's gonna cost for the whole city. We may be able to get some form of a grant that covers at least half, like 50% grant even, cover half the cost. But we, the council, you know, our biggest problem is that if more than 2 of us meet, it's a meeting, and we have to post it. So we can't really have good discussions. And if we're sitting in a meeting here, having these discussions, which is good, no argument about it, a nice discussion. The problem is it's time.
What's time?
It takes time for the discussion, and then we don't have like at the committee meetings, we don't have the whole staff here who can give us an answer as to where we are with funds and certain lines of the budget, et cetera, to do those things.
I understand all that, but that's not what I'm talking about. Now I'm talking about two people meeting at the same time. You can go by yourself like I went by
Oh,
myself.
yeah. Well, I
And then we
did.
come back.
I
at
was
the
already
meeting.
there.
Yeah,
Had a long
then we come
discussion
back to
with Ms. Baker.
a regular meeting where you vote on stuff and say, you know what? You right, Yolanda. George, you've been out there too. Then they go out there on their own. They don't have to go together because if them two go together, it's a meeting.
Yeah.
So, or whatever. But that way, when we come back together, cause this, and that, and I know what, sometimes we go, as the children say, we doing the most. And when you're doing the most, you're not doing nothing. So what I'm trying to say is we have to start doing things and we have to pay attention to the citizens because I'm sick and tired of sitting up here and the citizens coming and they telling us about the cares that's on their heart, on their homes and stuff, because everybody come up here, they live somewhere and they're complaining about something that's going on or ordinance or something. And we know that the city is older and yes, we need to update the ordinance and all that. What I'm saying is we have to make the residents happy. We have to help them because we are the ones that can help them. Can't nobody else help them. Us as a council has to do that.
Yeah.
What
That's
worked,
all I wanna
what
say.
worked and who did it to create it before the driveway was okay? What work was done and who did it?
It messed it up.
Yeah.
Mr. Trinka, Ms. Washington wanted to speak first.
The only thing is, and I'm pretty sure this applies to everybody in here. If we had work done on our driveway, we want our driveway put back exactly the way it was found. And we wouldn't want it half done. And to me, that's what that metal plate is, half done. So, and I think that she should have it done, put back exactly the way it was when the contractor started.
George,
That's all I got to say.
George, I think Mrs. Beckworth is in your guys' ward. Yours is
Yeah, she's
well.
above Ward 4. That's why I went out there and looked at it.
So
I agree.
no, I think that, honestly, I think that both you guys should go out there and see what you guys think and then bring it back to us and then everybody else. It's not,
Both of us got.
We've both been out there.
Just went at
It's,
different times.
it's too deep. I damaged the receiver on my car, the trailer hitch receiver, backing out of the driveway because it went down and hit it. And that nice brand new rubber cap that was on it just got scraped off. And
So you know what she
so I know what you're
talking
talking
about.
about. And then going into the driveway was not easy. And I was in Nellie's car and pulled in the driveway. And, you know, I got radar on my car too. It tells you when I'm getting too close to something. It told her that she was too close to the driveway going in the driveway. The city does need to do something, but I'm not an engineer. None of us here are. We need to have the engineer for the project come to us. Not come to us and tell us, what is it that is wrong? So if there's anything wrong, and if there is an issue, what can they do to correct it? The only thing that I could see, you know, be very frank, the curb, that gutter is the city's. It's not, it's the resident. That belongs to the city. But it's affecting the resident, and that's why it needs to have something done to it. But I don't know, I'm not an engineer, I don't know what that something is. And that's what we need, we need to ask her.
That's the
Okay,
part,
for
if
her,
that,
is there some kind of way she can file, like, file something?
We
to
have a
them to
complaint
do
form.
it?
We have a complaint form.
And I did that. And I sent everybody on the council a copy of it. And the mayor has her copy, and Luann has her copy, and Cody has his.
And when our app system is up and running, that will be tracked and we can go in at any time and see what's the progress, who's been talked to. That all goes into that system. Once it's up and running. Okay, we need to move on we've got a few items to do on the meeting.
We
Got
need
two of us that want to say
Okay,
something.
go ahead.
If the curb and gutter is what the problem is, the curb and gutter was replaced. We have not made final payment on the streets and stuff yet.
Oh,
Maybe we just tell them that it's not acceptable to the city
okay,
and they have to
Yeah.
take it out and redo that.
okay, well, we'll try to find.
I don't know
a deal that
legally
is to make
what
sure
we can
don't
tell
pay
them.
Till they fix.
But it's something we need to find out
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
because
That
it
sounds
shouldn't
right.
be on us. It's on the road.
right,
We paid for that.
right.
And we expect a finished product just as she does. So it's something we need to find out, and I think Jeff with the PWD.
Okay,
Get two to go on here.
okay.
Publish it.
Well, since I've heard all of that, have anyone talked to TW?
Only Cody.
So you said we need to talk to Cody about TW. Has he contacted him? Is that what you're saying? Pretty much.
I'll call Jeff. I'll call him, talk to him. So,
Yeah, you're the street chair. You
yeah,
can do it.
I'll call Jeff and talk to him.
And I'll give him the shell to see have we, I thought we signed that bill, but I don't know, but I'll check with her to see that particular street. To see if we paid the bill or not, because we won't pay the bill until we talk to them and they come out.
I think we paid most of it. I don't usually pay it.
That was part of a grant.
There's
We have to follow the rules of the grant.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but even,
The bill has been paid. Luann sent me a copy. The bill has been paid. But she said, well, I guess, well, no, so won't you take care of the deal?
Bill
We
has not
signed
been,
off on
the
it.
bill has not been.
Won't they
paid.
damage my driveway?
Full now.
No, it has not been.
We have not paid it in full because we have to do the final punch list
Okay,
and check all that out.
all right.
I've done enough construction to know that.
if it's not up to standard, can you withhold the grant? Payment?
We can withhold payment to a certain, because there's a percentage of the project is the city's fund. And then what is it, 70 or 80% is the grant. So we have some flexibility, probably. I can't be definitive. I'm not an attorney, I'm not an engineer, can't be definitive. But we'll have to look at it. We'll have to ask the mayor and have to look at it. We are an hour into our meeting and we haven't done any real business yet. We've done business, but not the business we have to do. Cemetery committee, anything from you besides?
Then there was my report.
Okay.
No, by the way, the grass cutting, I think, has been satisfactory and done well. And because I was very hesitant to have the city do it rather than the contractor. Apparently, we are doing it by the city and we're doing it cheaper. And I think just as efficiently and just the same or better quality. So that was a good decision when we made to have the city do the grass cutting and not a contractor.
You're not gonna say anything about the sign, Dale?
Well, we talked about the sign is completed right now for the College Hill, except for a medallion is gonna be attached to the medallion is gonna say circa 1804. Somebody else did a study some years ago. I studied it. Apparently that's the first one that we can find who was actually buried there. I'm guessing that there were some people buried prior to that date, but we don't have any record of them being buried there with their name, so. But that medallion will be put on at some time. And the idea of lighting it at night has been pretty well squashed. They asked about how many people would want it, and I've had nobody come to me saying that they would like to see it lighted at night.
Thank you.
Nice.
Anything else for cemetery? Ordinance, I've got the stuff here for ordinance. On item number 1, we've had several, it was reported to me that several companies have come to City Hall seeking information on purchasing land and putting in solar farms. Where they want to put them is in prime business district area and near residences. So we need an ordinance we need an ordinance and, the city of Highland has a good ordinance. I sent you all a link to go look at it. Bottom line is the two things we really need to get into ordinance. Number one is that solar farms can only go on property that's zoned industrial.
Hmm.
That way, they're gonna be away from residential areas. And, there was one other item, but the big thing is it's zoned industrial. Pat,
Is that also, farmland?
some of it's agricultural, but farmland is not considered industrial. It's agricultural. We have agricultural, zoning. Cause I have, for example, there's 6 acres or so behind my house that is farmland, it's farmed. And that was a place somebody was looking at for a solar farm. That's personal. I shouldn't be bringing personal business, but I don't know if I want a solar farm behind my house. Because it takes away the view. And we sure don't want one down behind IGA and, the Ace Hardware. Cause that's prime residential and, business.
What about the solar farm on Highway 4?
That's not in the city limits.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
That's not in the city limits. And that's owned by the, church. Put that in.
Which church?
St. Paul United Church of Christ.
UCC, yeah.
With that being said, so that way everybody knows what a solar farm looks like, and you're absolutely right, we wouldn't want that behind IGA, and I'm sure you wouldn't want that behind your home.
But the thing is, one of the things to remember with these solar farms is that there are landowners who are anxious to get them in. And so we have to have ordinances that regulate it. You don't have to ban it, but regulate it so that they're going in the right places, that it's acceptable to the city and to all the residents. Because those landowners are sometimes getting $2,000 a month per acre to do that. If they got their, I can $6,000 a month, I don't need to work anymore.
So what you're saying is we need to hurry up and put an ordinance in
We
place.
wanna get it in
because
fast.
some
I'm gonna ask
farmers
Mike
can
to work
sell the
on-
land.
I wanna ask Mike to work on one this week that's based upon the Highland ordinance and get it to you next week. If it's acceptable, we can pass it on a motion without a recommendation. So get it, when you get it, read it. It's pretty simple. It's only printed out. When I printed it, it was only 3 pages. The ordinance from Highland was when I printed it, so there's not a lot to it. Anybody have anything they want to bring up about the solar farms before I move on? Okay, there was also an issue brought to me by the clerk and the mayor on nuisance greenery. And that's where we have some lots where the first 20 feet is being taken care of. And then as you go back, they're not cutting the grass or doing anything. And so our ordinance only covers the front of doesn't cover the whole yard in some places.
What's it
Especially,
say?
it's an unimproved property,
It's what?
unimproved property.
Unimproved?
Yeah. Sherry, you got more information on that? Because that was brought to me by Luann.
Yeah, I don't remember giving that, but I'm pretty sure that when Blake goes out to write up code violations, we've got some people that have trees and bushes and grass he can handle, but it comes when the trees and the bushes grow across their front door and, look bad like that. And we don't have anything like that. That's the only thing I can think of that Luann's talking about.
Yeah, so it's something about the greenery just growing up
Yeah,
uncontrolled up close to the houses.
there's a house over there that has the greenery all over the place. Yes, ma'am.
What about the greenery growing on the streets?
She talking about the right of
I'm
way.
talking about Union Street.
Curbs.
Yes, she talking about curves, Union Street,
If it's
Cherry Street.
If it's
What-
on-
No, I'm talking about, no, don't put
Oh,
words
yeah.
in my mouth. I'm talking about Union Street.
She talking about Union Street.
The
see.
grass is as high as, is as tall.
I will
as
have to go
mine.
down there tomorrow and look.
I
I
can't go down there, Sherry.
It's,
It's just that tall.
And that's a street you live on?
Yeah, she talking about toward the back where they supposed to.
Oh, where
He's
the-
supposed to go
Oh,
with
I-
that.
sorry.
But I got she's
Oh.
talking about Union Street, but I'm like the people from Kiston's, Kistine.
Oh, where those
Acres.
houses were supposed to be built?
Yes, and remember the guy came, and I have a question because I'm hearing residents say, and I hope that's not true, but they say that the guy from Kiston Acres said, like he told us, he had been cutting all that stuff all them years, and he was saying like our ordinance, the city does not take care of their part, but they expect the residents to take care of their part. So with that being said, it's so many overgrown right-of-ways down in that area because there's no homes on those properties. And I feel that the city should take care of those right-of-ways. Now, mind you, you do have residents that cut the right-of-ways because they want around their house to look nice and not waiting for nobody to come cut it, which is fine. But I heard a resident say that we have an ordinance that the residents supposed to take care of the right-of-ways. And I hope that's not true because that's not their job. And two, because we have a lot of elderly people that lives on hills and stuff. Them people can't cut them hills and stuff. But when I do ask Cody, he does go cut it, but they need to be cut more often, things like that. So the greenery you talking about in front of I know exactly where you're talking about. It's not only that, all their bushes have grown over the sidewalk. And-
Yeah, the owner of the house has to,
And I believe
Contain
they're
their
older, but
bushes.
and I can tell that they tried to go and cut it, cause somebody must have told them, or they must have saw it, cause I always stop by and just sit there and stare at it like it's a nice scenery. And I notice when you do that, then some people do try to come and work on it, but I believe some of those people are elderly people and they can only do so much. That's why I feel that if we take care of our part and they see us doing our part, then they would do their part, even if they have to pay somebody to do it.
if it's bushes, they would have to. I
Ms.
will.
Kenny wanna say something.
Yep, and
Yeah, I think the issue was not about that in particular, but I know today Blake and Cody were out at, the Indian Court area.
yeah,
And that was one of the big problems is that those are undeveloped properties that are not being taken care of. And by ordinance, they only really have to keep the first 25 feet mowed. And the one house that's built there, which is, that one is developed and been empty since it's built, but all of the rest of those properties out there realistically don't have to be anything, but they're not even taking care of the 25 feet, but they are not taking care of any of it. And I think that is what the initial.
Right, that's what brought it up for
From
them.
Luann and Blake was for that property.
Thank you.
That's where it came.
Because it wasn't.
okay, yeah, I had no idea, I was,
Is that the, undeveloped, but platted lots
Yes,
on, often, the Perryman area?
right.
Okay, yeah, it's about 5 feet.
We need to get that taken care of. But we don't
That guy's
have to
gonna
do,
come in here and he's gonna wanna put houses up on it. And I just, you know what, when he comes back, I hope I know that. Because if he's not cutting or not, taking care of those plotted lots, it's gonna be a big indication of how he's gonna build something.
we need to do that, make sure he's, but we also need to make sure our ordinances are such that they have to maintain all the entire platted lot. So we'll look at our nuisance greenery ordinance. We don't really have a nuisance greenery ordinance. But Mike referred me to the one in Highland again, and they have one. But I'll get it out to you all, and if you would, individually, you can't say, don't reply to all. But send me a direct message as to what you like and don't like about the ordinances, so I can have a discussion with Mike. And we can bring something back that has everybody's input into it before we get it
I have a quick question
Sure.
about that, because I thought we worked on that kind of ordinance a long time ago when we worked on the cars, and I know that. I just thought we done that.
No, we didn't, not on grass, not on grass, it was
I
just the
thought a
vehicles.
nuisance is a nuisance.
Pardon?
I thought it was all the same.
It's all a nuisance. If you go to our nuisance ordinances are where some of this stuff is included. But it's
That's what I-
vague.
I know that, and we talked about that a long time ago,
Yeah.
when I first came in here and was talking about all the weeds and all the stuff and everything. And I asked that question to put all that in there, cause we have to pay to get all this done every time we do an ordinance. And then when we come back with it, it was so watered down, and I'm like, we didn't even do anything. And sometimes you just shut up and you don't say anything because you feel like people are not listening to you. There's no need to pay a person to do an ordinance if it's gonna be weak. And
Correct.
there's no need to sit here and say what we need and what we're gonna do if we don't put it in there. It's just a waste of time, and it's sure enough a waste of money.
Yeah,
Because we have to pay the lawyer to do things like that. And so we're revisiting the same thing again.
well, it doesn't cost us any more for him to write an ordinance. That's part of his flat rate. But it does cost us to have it published. And it doesn't do us any good to have an ordinance that's unenforceable.
Exactly.
That's the issue. And it's the ordinances themselves, they're written to be enforceable, but we don't have the warm bodies to enforce.
Yes, we do.
And
We got the police over there trying to enforce one now. So we do, we have. what
Oh, yeah, I know we
need,
have.
So don't
we
say
haven't
it.
tried to get enforced.
We can enforce
It
it.
costs us, that's what costs us money. Is when we try to enforce it and we have to go to court. That's where it runs our legal bills up.
That's why you have to have it in writing so that you can enforce it the right way. But if you do not put the writing right, it's not gonna do anything. It's just weak.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Give me what you want to see in the ordinance and we'll have it written.
Well, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be quiet. I did that last time. For this greenery, the cars and all that. And at the end of the day, it still was not in there. And then they come with it and it was like, here go the Westman calling. And I'm like, that's not what we talked about. So then, with that being said, instead of sitting down with doing it with one person, with whoever's writing the ordinance, I just believe collectively that we all need to say what we need to be put in there to make it strong, so it'll be gelling together, so it don't be so weak and does not have anything in there. So we all need to say what's in there. You all live in house, you know what you want it to look like where you live. You get what I'm saying? We know. So we need to say that as a whole and make these ordinances together, not just one person. Because when one person does it, it comes back weak and it does not do anything. It does not have any weight on it at all. And then we're right back here revisiting the same thing, talking about the same stuff over and over again. I'm done.
Thank you.
I'll check on that with Cody. On the area with Cody on Union. Oh,
Okay, the third item. I don't know what to do with this. It was brought up again. The food truck, we have a food truck ordinance that requires a permit for each food truck, and they have to provide insurance information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, at a meeting when we asked about the food trucks, if the food trucks on our street had permits for the festivals, I was told the state law was changed, and I was handed a copy of the new language, and so we assumed that to be the case. That bill never got passed.
What bill?
The food truck Bill of Rights never got passed by the state legislature.
Okay.
So the way it reads in the state statutes is, yes, we do have some control over food trucks. We can control where they park. We can control the fact that we want them to have a city permit. We can require that. So there is some control. No, we don't have anything to do with the food inspection. We don't have anything to do with enforcing food handling regulations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we do have control over that aspect to protect our Brick Street merchants, et cetera. So I'm getting together with Mike and going through this again because I'm reading two different things. I found the statute, that's it, there's a bill, 2099, House Bill 2099, that's stuck in the Rules Committee. When it goes to Rules Committee, that means it could be there forever and it's gonna die. That's what the Rules Committee is for, to let bills die. And so it's in the Rules Committee, the legislature right now, from the last session. So it would have to come up as a new bill in the next session. When I looked up food trucks, mobile food vendors, et cetera, in our statutes, there really are few statutes other than the fact they need the health inspections. They have to have insurances, they have to have food handler stuff, et cetera. It's all related to the counties. The authority for food trucks to operate is the county, but the city can regulate where they operate. And our concern, that's what was brought up, is the fact that about 5 years ago, a food truck, 4 years ago, food truck just pulled up in front of a business here in town and started selling stuff because the one business person wanted them there. The truck was there and it was interfering with noise, et cetera, with other vendors. That's what brought that about. So this one here, I was looking at it again today, went back and, because I like to, when I come to the meeting, I like to be intelligent, be able to give you the right information and the bills, et cetera. And I found out that there really is, the city does have a lot of authority over them. And the only reason we have to have that authority, so we can control where they park. Now, when there's a festival in town, yeah, the festival takes that responsibility. But when it's not a festival, then we have to make sure they understand there are regulations. So I'm not gonna do anything with that right now because we want to leave most of that regulation ordinance in place right now. That's the ordinance, the parts of it that control where the trucks can go. And then I'm gonna look at it and come back and say, let's delete these sections and leave these other sections in place. Does that sound like a better plan?
So what you're saying is with that business, what happened was they invited that food truck.
Right.
And what you're saying is the food basically was in a way. But with that, in that ordinance, because I feel that a business should be if they're having something, maybe it's their anniversary, that
right,
they should be able to invite a food truck, but they should ask the city, and I do understand what you're saying, that they have to get something from the city.
Right.
So with that being said, because food trucks are very popular, this Brick Street would be really, really nice if we had a food truck event, because where you have a whole lot of food trucks, because they do that in a lot of areas. Carlisle have them, because I went and it was really, really nice. So I don't want us to do something where we're basically not welcoming them to come, because that is big business. And I think we can.
Yeah, food trucks in our ordinance, food trucks cannot be within 200 feet of brick and mortar food service establishment. So that literally means that the only place a food truck can go in this area is down about a block that way and on the other side of Route 4. Because wherever you are, you're gonna be within about 200 feet of a food service establishment, because that's the way they're spread out. We could change that. We also could require that if a business wants a food truck, then they have to ask permission and show us that they've talked to the other food vendors that are permanent vendors, that they're not gonna argue with the fact there's a food truck for that one day.
Yes.
You know, for example, the Lantern is only open till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Someone wants to bring a food truck in on, 2 in the afternoon. Someone wants to bring a food truck in to be here from 6 until 8 or something. Then that's a different story. That's not gonna interfere with them if they're over in this area. It might interfere with the restaurants at the other end of the block. And we have to know what's what. So that's why I'm saying there has to be some regulation but we don't want to say, no, absolutely not, you're banned from the city.
Exactly.
But we wanna have some regulation so that we know what's going on. That's all I have to say about that. Anybody else have anything on food truck? So we can get the things we have to vote on. All right, the plan commission people were already here about that. I'm gonna get with Mike, if it's okay with you all, I'll get with Mike and discuss what we can do to adjust the ordinances, because I don't know other cities that have it. With multiple single-family residences on the same parcel.
I got a question about that because I don't know, and if it helps, Jessica, you have an apartment building.
Right.
And you have a home. But all her stuff is already, as I can say, divided. So my question is, if the address is 829, she can't have like an 829A and an 829B. That wouldn't help her either.
It already has two addresses.
Oh, no,
It's
okay,
316 South Monroe and 401 West Shoots.
Yeah.
Two different streets.
Two different streets,
Streets.
two different houses. It's everything separate except for the zoning of it says I can only have one single family home on that property, which is why I only have one inspection.
So
We've gotta
basically, we
change-
got to work on.
We have to
the
change,
zoning.
we have to, don't necessarily change the zoning, because then we have to come up with a whole zoning study and change the zoning on that one parcel. What we need to do is come up with an ordinance that allows for, because that's only one, there's probably other parcels in the city that have that. But when there are two single family dwellings on the same parcel, that they can be rebuilt.
Can you email us exactly what they asking you to have, so,
We move on.
I wanna move on.
to be able to rebuild and whatever.
You have that.
need.
That's
Yeah.
the city ordinances.
I
It's
know.
not anybody else asking for it. It's just.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's the city. If I come in here.
Can
and
I move
file
on,
for-
please?
Okay, I got
We
you.
need
I
to
just
move
wanted, I'm hearing, what I'm trying to say is I'm hearing a lot. If somebody can email me what we need to do to fix it, because sometimes when you done heard so much.
That's why I'm getting with Mike to get an ordinance written, so you'll have something in writing that outlines exactly what's gonna occur. It'll be an amendment to the ordinances that essentially allows existing parcels in the city of Lebanon with two dwellings, single-family dwellings, can remain that way, and that they can be sold separately, they can be insured, and they don't have to change the size if they're under our 1,000 feet, square feet. They can remain, and as long as they build it on approximately the same footprint. That'll be the language. I did some research, and if you watch the video, again, I've done it in writing, and I've done it twice tonight verbally. Watch the video of the plan commission. You'll have all that information.
Okay, where is this video you talking about?
It is on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for this.
Okay, so see this, I heard you say that the first time and I was gonna ask what video. you
I
talking
did,
about.
I did email everybody in the council a link to that video
Okay.
over the weekend, so you have it.
No, I don't.
I know, because you don't have the internet.
And you don't put it in my box,
Well,
like,
this is a video I can't put in the box.
you can write it down and put it in the
I'll
box.
send her the link, if the link in there, you can.
Yeah, the link's
text
in the
it to
email.
her. I'll do that for her.
All right. Okay, moving on. Public property, anything?
No, I don't have anything to say about that, George, but I do have something to say about the police department.
Okay,
The police department seems to be more noticeable now. They seem to be, since we had those questions asked that one night, and then the chief spoke to us, their presence is a little more obvious than it used to be. So I like to, like Yolanda's doing there, I like to flag them for doing that.
There you are.
thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, I noticed it too, like, around. My street doesn't get a lot, but nobody goes around our street, they just speed. Right now, it's the grain trucks going down there 45, 50 miles an hour, so.
That's
We'll
it.
write a ticket, wait
Streets and alleys.
Yep, we got a little bit of a discussion on, some placing of some stop signs that have been looked, that are being looked into. And I will refer to Mr. Trinket for that. So that you can, if he did the, legwork on this.
Okay. Like I said, basically, we feel that there's some areas of the city that need a little more safety involved. And we've listed, we have to list all that with, down at the bottom, it talks about the purpose of the sign. The only sign that we're really having problems with, which I don't think we're gonna be able to do, is the one on Belleville Street. I've contacted the head of the St. Clair County Roads and Bridges place. They do not want any of those rubber humps on the street, and they're very costly, I found out. And then I proposed this here, and I called them on the phone. They indicated that what we would have to do, and they thought probably very doubtful we would get it, have to have our city engineer write a letter to them, telling them the reason why we want the stop sign there at Perryman and Belleville Street. And they want us to emphasize the fact that for safety, visibility, pedestrians, you know, and the volume of traffic. And I talked to our city engineer and he said, be glad to do it, but we had to provide the information to him to write the letter. But the rest of the signs, you see the location. I would like to find out if you have any other suggestions or whether you like or dislike the ones that are on the sheet there.
I have a question with the one where it say Monroe near the fire station. I know that, how far away from that traffic light are we talking? Because
We're not
traffic
talking,
light.
we're asking you. In other words, we see it as a problem. But I mean, it's a place on the curb there where cars can, you know, run into each other or cars coming out of the side streets, you know, could come. So we don't have any specific location at this time. We're just saying it looks like it would be a good place to have one. And we're looking for you folks to give us a recommendation on where you think it might be, or if we should have one there at all.
I'm trying to remember, I have come that way, if we're coming down Pearl, and because you would be right there at Pearl and it hits Monroe, and you have the stop, you have that traffic light there, so are you saying Monroe and that traffic light coming out of Pearl, is that a yield sign? And you saying that we need to put a stop sign there, because if you saying that particular spot, I do understand that.
Well, I would think it'd be more logical to possibly have it a little further north.
Oh, okay.
Maybe just before or just after the fire station where the cars would come out in case of a fire.
Yeah, the history, I was attending council meetings during the period of time the planning was done on Monroe Street. And that's not really a traffic control light, that's a pedestrian light.
Oh.
That's there because when Monroe was designed, the fire station was not yet there. There was an existing sidewalk on the east side of Monroe that was in use. But there was no existing sidewalk between Summerfield and I forget the name of the street. I think it's Janet. There's no existing sidewalk there. So the designer and the IDOT who controlled this project, because it was a federally funded project, required there be a crossing there to go from one side of the street to the other side of the street. So there would be sidewalks on both sides. And that light was put in purely for pedestrian use. The only way it changes is for pedestrian to push a button. So that light is not there for traffic control. As traffic, it's there to stop traffic so a pedestrian can cross the street.
Oh, so I understand that. So my question, with the new firehouse there, you would think that if it was a fire, some kind of way it would ignite.
We could
be ready to
probably
stop traffic.
We could probably get that traffic light moved to the intersection of Pearl. Probably, but it'll probably run us about 50 grand to 100 grand to do that. Because they've got to do all the recabling underground, etc. And put in new poles, the whole thing. So that is something that maybe we need to look at down the street, down the road, so to say. When we have funds or maybe a grant, or maybe the fire district might help us out with that. Because a traffic light at that intersection will be good. If the fire engines are leaving, they can automatically turn that to a four-way stop. So all traffic stops at that intersection one way or another. Because there are some safety issues. Maybe we need to talk with the fire district, see if they're willing to work with the city on that. And then we look at what's the cost to move that? And are we allowed to move it? Because that was an IDOT traffic light. It's not ours. We pay the
Maybe they
electricity.
can work with IDOT
Yeah,
on that.
yeah, they could, but they should, so we need to talk to them, fire district.
Yeah, I talked to Chief Miller, or Mueller, depending on how we, and he has not come back and made any comment to me, but I think all these things that are being brought up, that's why we wanted to put it in there, so we would get the comments we're getting from George and all the rest of you. But what we would like to have you make comments, so that me and Bobby know what you think about those particular locations of stop signs. And one thing,
Other road, you have one other road that I think we need to put on there.
Yeah.
Which is Randall, going across there, they came to us, probably a year ago. And asked us to do something with that, of blocking off the road, one of the roads, or some way to, slow down the college kids because they use it as. So I would say we would need to, we're going to put stop signs in, and that would help deter and slow that traffic down from that area, that residential area too, so. I think that would also help.
I think the stop signs help because I know, I asked my mom today, they live on Cherry and Plum. And is that third? Well, anyway, she said, did you see the new stop signs? Because I hadn't paid them no attention. And then I was like, oh yeah, I say the sun are really reflecting on them, so they very lit up. So I said, have anybody been stopping? And she said, they sure have. I was like, well, that's good. It's working.
Stop signs work when they're first put up.
Do they
Because
get to school?
I can point you to Hunter and Summerfield Street. This, where Hunter comes down and dead ends at Summerfield, you gotta turn right or left, and it comes down there, it's a continuous right turn. They ignore this completely, so let's move on.
I think, tip of the hat to Dale there for bird dog and everything.
Right.
I might mention that Tony, the head of security for McHenry College, he just bought a batch of tickets that he can use. And he suggested one place that would be good, and I did not list it here, was on College. Down near where the apartments are down there. And he said that's one place that his people go, so he may be able to help us stop there. But I did not list that, but that could be another location.
Yeah.
So let Bobby and I know what you think about these particular stops here. And another big thing, I've read several studies on these stop signs and everything, and check with the residents. We need to check with the residents. Because so often in these reports, they say the residents want things of this nature, but when they're put in there, then they're very unhappy.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else for streets, Bobby?
No, that's it for.
Anybody else have anything for streets?
Oh, I'm sorry. I talked to a resident on Liberty Street. And he was talking about how it holds water. It's Liberty Street. And he said that if they just fill it in with some rock, then it won't be just a pool of water. And I was like, oh, that's an alley. He was like, no, that's a street. So I looked up and it's called Liberty Street. So it's a street. It's right over there by, I want to say where Mr. Crump lived.
It's on at Third.
I
think it's,
yeah, it
Is
runs
it
into Third.
the street over from Vine?
it's about this
Shoots
wide.
in Third. Shoots
It's
in
between
Third.
Plum and Vine.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's little.
One
Between
thing,
life and the perceived happiness.
rock would be a temporary fill in there. I'll talk to Cody and I'll get him to go by there, and I'll go by there and take a look at it. that cold batch or the blacktop to put in there
Yes.
might be a better
And,
fix.
and you would
for
see
that.
it, because when you first
So
come
would-
in, it need rock going like this,
And yeah, we
because
need
it
to take
this
a look
part
to
in
see.
there.
I don't wanna put some rock in there, then we have to fill in every 3 months or every 6 months, we're putting more rock in. So that's what my thinking is on that. But we'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah.
I won't speak to it, because I don't know.
Okay. Moving on to unfinished business. The vendor issue for the online harassment training. Does anybody have any opinion on the 3 vendors I came up with, suggested? Go ahead.
You had said something about for the training, I think it was like. I think you said $18.
No, the one of them is 26, I've seen them, they've ranged from about, the one I had originally was $18. Now it is $28.
Oh, well,
It
yeah,
changed.
that's the one I was,
It's $28,
I
but
was,
then another one is $850.
no, that
for
wasn't
up-
it,
for
Joe,
up-
I mean.
Yeah,
George.
the one, there's
It
one
was-
that's for $850 a year. It's up to 100 employees. And that would mean as you hire new employees, because if you hire a new employee, that's another number. So, you know, when you go through them in some cases, like in some of our departments, go through employees faster than others.
What about the 28?
Yeah, the 28, the $850, believe it or not, comes out to about $28 an employee.
Well, can
Slow down and repeat that.
I said, the $858, how many employees do we have? That includes 10 members of the council, or 8 members of the council, the mayor, the treasurer, if you get a paycheck from the city of Lebanon, you have to take the harassment training.
I think it's 16 plus this, plus do you have to include the plan commission and
Planning commission,
zoning board of
The
appeals?
Board of Appeals, yeah. So I added it up, I came up with about 56 employees.
So is that all that, website teaches sexual harassment, no other kind of classes you can take?
Oh, there's other classes we can add, but we have to pay more for it.
Well,
We pay for each class. For example, they do them for the safety,
Okay,
they do safety classes for
Look,
the
I'm trying
streets
to-
people.
I'm trying to grasp the harassment and you going on to something else.
Go ahead with the harassment.
Now, you add, I'm trying to do the 28.
Mhm.
So if we all do the 28, will that include the employees?
All employees.
All of them.
We are considered, for the purposes of the harassment training, members of the city council, the mayor, and other elected officers are considered employees. Because it's a state law that is requiring everybody to do the training,
Okay, along with the planning and the zoning.
along with the commissions.
Okay. I think that one will be the best one.
Didn't we discuss this at the last meeting? They said we wanted to do it online.
Oh, that's what it is.
He told
Yeah.
us to think about it.
I also gave you 3 links to online ones. The one that starts off I2I. Those people have been really wanting to do, they do it in Champaign County, a couple other counties in the state. They do the training for them. And the one that's OSHA. There's one that comes out that says OSHA dot something. Well, it's not really OSHA, they're just using those initials. And that one there isn't as thorough. The I2I is, they have one that is specific to Illinois. That certificate that I sent you, I actually took the course and went through it and completed it, and I have a certificate. And then the owner of the company.
all right.
But then the owner of the company called me up, she said, well, why'd you do the general one? Why didn't you do the one for the state of Illinois? I said, I didn't know that was out there. She said, here's the link. So now I gotta go back and redo the state of Illinois part. And I'll get a certificate that's specific to the state of Illinois. But that is out there. You can try them again. We don't have to vote on this tonight. I'm gonna put it on the agenda for next week. If there's any discussion and you wanna move forward the I2I, I'll ask, let me know individually, and I'll ask Mike to write up a resolution to do the I2I, because that's what we have to do it by. It's not an ordinance, it's a resolution that we're gonna use this vendor. And it'll be $850 for up to 100 in a year.
Is there a deadline on that, George?
To do it?
Mhm.
Well, let's put it this way. If we don't do it this fiscal year, we'll get fined $500.
What'd you say?
If we don't do it this fiscal year,
Oh, the year go out.
we could be fined $500.
Who is we?
The city. The city can be fined $500, then it goes to $1,000, then it goes to $1,500, and I haven't gotten it clear whether that's per employee or for the city. My gut feeling is it's per employee because most other fines are per employee,
You have to take them every year.
and you have to do it every year. Yes,
You just have to have the manual before you can plan this.
there is no manual, it's all online. You watch
The
the video.
employees have to have the personnel manual.
Oh, yeah.
So
Personnel
don't go
manual,
signing us up for anything.
it's passed,
I didn't say that.
okay,
They have to have a copy of it.
make copies. I know that. We can have it online and a paper copy. But the online is for the entire community. Anybody in the city, any prospective employee can look at it. Any resident can look at it. But it's going to be an expense. Here we are, 77 pages. And we're looking at about 60 copies at 77 pages. Cutting down a couple of
Do
trees.
you want us to provide the paper and,
No,
whatever?
geez, they can do that.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah,
I would suggest that this be taken to a print shop to be done.
I agree.
Any what? Not in town, we have to go
About
out.
the sexual harassment, you gonna print that
Yeah.
out for real?
Well, then, no, it's a whole manual.
It's in.
It's everything, it's in the manual. But, yeah, the manual needs to go out to everybody. I would suggest, I'm just throwing a suggestion that we consider taking it to a print company, FedEx or something like that, getting it in print and spiral bound so that.
I think that's wonderful, do it.
We can't vote tonight, we can do it Monday. night.
Crying out loud.
Yeah.
That could be an administrative decision. That's an administrative decision by somebody with a little more authority than me.
All right.
So we've discussed the vendor. Get back to me. I would like to, if it's possible, I'd like to get this on the agenda for next Monday. I would just need to know, it's gonna go on the agenda regardless. I just need to know the name of the company.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you tell me, when are we going to, do we look over the budget for next year or this year, or how does that work?
The budget, Larry?
The budget, that'll be coming out, we start working on that next February, March, so you guys don't get a copy of the budget until May.
He wants to know, do we work on it with you? And oversee it with you?
No, not really. We get with the department heads, Luann and Michelle. And they get it all turned into me. I compile it, then we kind of look it over, and then it goes out to you guys to look over as well.
What will we know about it without talking to the people?
To the people,
The people that,
like the residents?
you, no.
Oh, you can talk to us. We're not gonna not talk to you about it, but we do our part as far as getting it compiled together. And we do that with the department heads.
When are you gonna start?
That doesn't start till January. So we still have some time left on that.
Okay. When's the fiscal year?
The end of the fiscal year, I think, or we're May through April 30th. Well, April 30th.
I know that. I was asking him if he knew it.
We have to
Yeah.
pass the budget with about 2 to 3 weeks to spare, so it can be brought down to the county. Because if we don't do that, we can't function, we don't get any money.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking one more time, any other items for the council? That being said, according to Robert's rules, if there's no business.
I got one.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I just out of curiosity, you know, down there at the school, I thought that there was they were going to put a sidewalk down there.
That's a grant that's in process.
Still in process?
Yeah, it'll take, when we get a grant to do a sidewalk, they could take 1 year to 2 years to get it in.
Even though it's for the school?
It's safety, yeah. That was a Safe Routes to School grant that the city received. And so it's gonna go through a process of engineering, engineering study, engineering. And then it'll eventually come back to us as pass an ordinance to spend the money.
You know how much that costs now?
It'll be about 500,000, I think. I forget what the grant was for.
I think it go down.
Okay. How do we keep track of that stuff? Did you
Just
talk to somebody here about it?
haven't talked to Cody because he's the one person who's gonna, Michelle or Cody.
Do all of those?
Michelle and Cody have to work on it together because part of it is streets, part of it is finance.
Okay.
Okay. There being no further business on the agenda, we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you. Go in peace.
It's been real.
What do you want now?
Oh, man.